And let me just say in advance, this whole ortho session we're doing is not 100% what you would do in a normal lab. This wire I've gotten from Lowe's, and I got it like this size so that you could see really good. So the first thing is you want to shape your wire so that it looks like an arch, okay? So this is what you guys will do. You know, it looks like the golden arches. And then before starting any type of real bends, you want to mark the midline, okay? So that way you can always come back to that point of reference. So it's going to go right there. And then you're going to make small bends along the way so every part of this wire touches the facial and buccal surface of the teeth. But since you guys are not going to become lab technicians, you want to be dental assistants and hygienists, we're just going to show you the basic for this. You're not going to have to learn how to do every single little bend. So in a retainer, you would mark on either side of the canine so that you could make what's called an adjustment loop. And the reason it's called an adjustment loop is because once you're done making the retainer and it goes in the patient's mouth, after they wear it for a while, it's going to become loose. And so you can actually tighten it with the adjustment loop, makes those adjustments. So if we're making this for the patient, the adjustment loop's going to be 90-degree angle, okay? And then you're going to want something rounded, a plier that's rounded, and grab that right there. And the other thing that you're going to want to do is keep it within its arch. Okay, so when you make these bends, you want to make sure that it's not the left or the right sticking out too far. And then when I'm going to grab my 3-prong, and make that bend. Okay, so it's still in the arch form shape, but then let's turn it this way. And you see how uneven that is. So you need to make it even. And making these slight bends. You don't want to do, you know, a really hard, because that's what it does, okay? So we'll take our plier and cut that piece off because it's a little long anyway. All right, so we have our first adjustment loop. Adjustment loops, if you're putting this in the patient's mouth, always point towards the gum. So it's like a speed bump, okay? So it's gonna go like that, line that midline up, and there it is. So then we would go to the other side. Go back to that midline, look at your placement. Not the easiest thing to do, record this lesson while bending. All right, so this 3-prong I could use, or I could use what I did on this side, the Jeraback. but this is going to be a sharp bend where it goes to that 90-degree angle. Make a little bit more 90. Then keeping it in line with the arch form. Okay. And then that's what it's going to look like. And you put it on your model and you continue to make those bends. Okay. Now, when I do this, you keep going around, and then right here is where you would start making your bends to go around that second molar. And then once you get to here, the wire's not going to be just straight because it could pull out of the acrylic. You kind of want to make it zigzag so that it has retention, okay? So this is not going to be perfect because I'm just kind of doing this to give you a feel for what it's like to do wire bending. How many of y'all make jewelry? You do wire bending for jewelry. Okay. So when I went to dental lab school and learned how to do this, I had no idea by learning, you know, these different skills that I go on YouTube now and make all sorts of jewelry. I love it. So if you like doing that stuff, you might like this. So it's going to curve around. So we're just going to kind of curve it around. And again, you always set it at that midline. And I just want to show you what it would look like. You would then mark it there to start bending it down. And then you don't want it sitting up, so you're going to hold this and kind of point that down so it's up against the palette. And then you can add your zigzags in there. So once the acrylic is poured up, it's going to stay in there. And then of course I just bent that the wrong way. I should have bent it up and down instead of out. And that can be fixed because this is just one of those you know, inside things. Doesn't have to be. So I would need to push that in more. And okay, so more like that. Okay. All right, so that's just the wire bending part of it. Once you're done bending this and getting it all set, you leave it on there and then you do the acrylic part. Okay, so I'm going to move this around. Sorry, here. Okay. And